The state of Kuwait and the United Nations partnership has grown over the past few years, specifically with the deteriorating humanitarian crisis around the world and in the region. Kuwait has hosted 3 donor conferences for the Syrian people and become increasingly involved with the UN and its agencies in tackling humanitarian catastrophes. In 2006, Kuwait, the UK, Germany, Norway, and the United Nations co-hosted the 4th conference on the Syrian crisis to raise significant new funding. The conference raised over $12 billion in pledges. The strategic partnership with the UN was championed when His Highness the Emir, Sheikh Sabah Al-Ahmed Al-Jaber Al-Sabah, was honored by the then UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon. The honoring ceremony was held in New York on September 9, 2014. A year later, the United Nations here named their headquarters after His Highness the Emir in recognition of his humanitarian contributions. In another step of Kuwait's endless humanitarian contributions, the Kuwait Fund for Arab Economic Development signed an agreement with UNHCR to fund the camps of Syrian refugees in northern Iraq. The latest agreement grants $10 million to provide support and improve the living conditions of Syrian refugees there.
This is a landmark agreement between the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees and the Kuwaiti Fund for Arab Economic Development. It's the first of its kind, and we hope that it will open the door for bigger partnerships between the fund and UNHCR, not only in Iraq but in other parts of the world. The agreement was for $10 million divided between 2 years, 2017 and 2018, to help Syrian refugees in Iraq, in northern Iraq.
We are looking forward a lot for future cooperation. It is an agreement that will more than 1,000, almost 100,000 refugees will benefit from it in northern Iraq, and we look forward future cooperation for the benefit of refugees and other persons of concern.
Today's agreement is very significant for the operation of UNHCR in Iraq, and this is an extension of the deep relationship between UNHCR and the Kuwait government, and the extension for the generosity we've been seeing and witnessing for a long time between the Kuwait people and government. We should remember that Kuwait was taking a lead in hosting 3 conferences in a row responding to the largest global situation, which is the Syria situation. And this is significant in a way that we are looking for a further cooperation. And this visit comes in a very significant time, as it's just right before the Brussels conference, and this is again a significance of the role that Kuwait plays as a global player in responding to humanitarian needs.
Today, Kuwait, the UN, and its agencies continue to develop their relations in the face of a worldwide crisis that has left over 65 million people displaced. Kuwait has been a key partner for the UNHCR over the past few years, with contributions exceeding $360 million to the UN agency since 2013.
Kuwait is one of the biggest players now in terms of humanitarian assistance, not only because of the money Kuwait provides to the humanitarian system, but because of the space that Kuwait provides for dialogue among humanitarian organizations and donors. Kuwait hosted 3 pledging conferences for Syria that yielded more than $7 billion. Kuwait established a mechanism to follow up on the pledges, and for the first time probably in the history of pledging conferences, that we reached 95% of commitments after Kuwait 3. Kuwait has been recognized by the United Nations and the international community as a center for humanitarian action, and His Highness the Emir has been recognized by the United Nations as a humanitarian leader.
We would like to thank the fund for all the efforts that have been made at the leadership level, at the operational level. They have been extremely cooperative, and we thank them a lot. We'd also like to thank the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, who has been very supportive to the UN organizations in general and to UNHCR as well. And of course, thank you to the leadership, the Kuwaiti leadership, His Highness the Emir, and to the Kuwaiti people.
His Highness Sheikh Sabah Al-Ahmad Al-Jabir Sabah, and this is playing and acting as a global humanitarian leader. And this is very clear that Kuwait's been in the front line of hosting 3 conferences, and in the last few years, Kuwait's been a very generous donor to UNHCR's operation to respond to acute needs of refugees, not only in Iraq but in different parts of the region. And we saw $360 million been given to the sake of refugees. And I believe that this provided hope for refugees that they are not forgotten. They're leaders, they're people who think of their pain and respond to their needs, and they at the same time act in this humanitarian manner that comes from their hearts. And we hope that all countries of the world just follow this example of the humanitarianism, and this is an exact translation of being a humanitarian.